Well, with me in the studio is the publicity secretary of the Nigerian Internet Group, that's Bayero Agabi, and also a stockbroker with Perfections Nominees Limited, Samuel Olayemi. Thanks for joining us, gentlemen, on Business Nigeria. Now, I'm going to start with you, Agabi, because the fight against MTN has been a controversy 8 months now, just like I said at the start of the program. Why has it been that way?
It's because MTN is the biggest network provider on the continent right now. And in Nigeria, MTN owes quite a lot of inflow and outflow of information in this country. About 65 to 70% of the telephone lines used at the upper end are owned by the MTN. And so if you cut off MTN, and you know what that means, you know, most of the legislators may not be able to. I dare tell you that about 70% of the legislators that are even talking there, you know, they carry MTN line. So what that means is that MTN also has this underlying cable that carries the inflow and outflow of information of Nigeria. So that is, when we get there, we'll cross it. But the issue is that Nigeria must be able to correct and check and monitor and police and regulate its own cyberspace. The way it is now, there's nowhere in the country or even in South Africa where they came from that a single telecom operator can hold a database of a national, of a nation and control it in the way it is controlled. And that is why you can't just tell MTN pull out. A lot of things will pull out.
A lot of things are involved, right?
A lot of things are involved.
Let me go to Olayemi now. Now, the stock market has been waiting for MTN for a long time now. We are getting close to the target. Let's talk about expectations. What do you expect from this telecommunications company, being the largest in Africa, just like Mr. Gabi just explained?
Well, it's with glaring interest that we understand that they'll be coming to the stock exchange anytime from now. We've been expecting them, just as we're expecting some other giants, like the power industry. We want them listed on the stock market. And in fact, when Dangote came, it was a welcome idea. And certainly, we're all full of expectation for the MTN coming in.
Interesting. Now I'm going to come back to you. MTN finally fought hard. We saw it, just like the senators and the House of Representative members are also saying that finally they've been able to cut this fine and all that. Are you not worried about this reduction? Is it just because of this same importance you're talking about, or they have been so I don't know how to put it, because it seems like,
you see, the essence of fine is not to kill the brand. The essence of fine is not to kill the network. Actually is to encourage the network to grow and service Nigerians. Okay, so if the fine is such that it will put the network out of operations, I think it will be sensible for government to negotiate and find a balance. That is, I think that is what government has done. But the lesson from this is that why should you, government does not have that express, inroad as to the database that MTN controls. I maintain database because today, world over, database has become the currency. Database has become the power of nations, and that is why you see America chasing Edward Snowden. You know, if you have the data of a country, you can control how that country runs. What is data? Data is made up of financial transactions. It's made up of the people, the demographic, and all of those things. So you can stay anywhere in the world and control and regulate another country that is not yours. And that is why data has become very powerful. And so that has been transported into this, cyberspace, where you see individuals, government to people, transaction. That is government to people transaction, people to government transaction, and then government to government transaction. These are all data, networked, all backed up by the internet. So we cannot play with the data of this country. And we saw it happen, a time back when there was an explosion somewhere in Abuja. We couldn't get who did it. until we got to MTN. MTN refused to release it until there was a threat that if you do not release this database to us as a nation, we're going to, shut down your license. Before we got the data from MTN, that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen.
That's talking about the power of the telecom network now.
The power of MTN alone is huge. It's quite huge.
Honestly,
Yes, see, you just talk about MTN because you phone.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, there are lots
but
of other
you don't
things
talk
attached.
about MTN because of the cables under the ground, the internet. When I say internet traffic in and out of Nigeria,
you can imagine.
That is huge. That is huge.
I can really imagine. All right, I'm going to come to you. Let's look at the volume of shares now, or paid up. Do you think what volume of shares now do you think would help us dip in this market? You've talked about the telecommunications company, talking about the power firms, which we think should get listed soon. But what do you think? What kind of shares do you think we really need to dip in our market at this time?
As mentioned, the MTN coming to the stock exchange will be a welcome idea, but you can be rest assured that whatever the volume they are bringing will be readily absorbed, because we have lots of subscribers that are waiting, good investors waiting to absorb whatever is coming into the air. And so it doesn't really matter what volume. You remember there was a time that Stockcom was quoted on the stock market.
Yeah.
Stockcom wasn't doing too well, and at the end of the day, it was actually selling at a par value of 50 kobo per share. That was not good enough, and eventually it went under the ground. It was delisted. And so when the issue came up that the MTN is coming, especially with the they absorbed a Visa phone recently, and they are still doing some migration on them currently. We discovered that this is quite a welcome idea. The only thing that as they should come with open hand. They should come naked, because as stockbrokers, we are ready to do the justice that is required.
Interesting.
There's no question of having double accounting system. We will not take it. You have to come in with straight account, and that will be the one they are presenting to the stock exchange should be the same one they have presented to the tax office. It's the same one they are presenting at their board level. If they don't do it, we have our way of finding out information, and that may affect the corporate image at the end of the day. So what I'm saying precisely is that we are welcoming the MTN to the stock exchange, and whatever the volume of share they want to make available, we are ready to absorb. Although ordinarily they will be required to at least sell 10% of their subscribed capital, at least 10%. But if they decide to sell even 100%, we are ready to absorb it.
Interesting. I know that you still have lots to tell us. Now you're still watching Business Nigeria. We'll go on this short break, and I'll still have the gentleman with me here to talk more about issues around the MTN, the fine issue. I know Nigerians would like to know more about issues surrounding this. Stay with us on Business Nigeria. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying tuned. You're still on to Business Nigeria. We're looking at the MTN fine, the summoned by the members of the House of Representatives to the Communications Justice Minister and the Executive Vice Chairman of the Nigerian Communications Commission with regards to the MTN fine. And I have with me in the studio the Publicity Secretary of the Nigerian Internet Group and also a stockbroker, Samuel Olayemi, giving insight into this issue. Now, I'm going to come back to you, Agabi. Now, we've agreed that MTN is big, making waves, huge money compared to how it's been in other nations and all that. But some people think MTN is exploiting Nigerians. Many people have that reservation. And it's come that way, we've seen it. And even to the point of challenging the Nigerian government. What do you make of this?
If you think MTN is exploiting Nigeria, I think the role of government is to strike a balance. That balance, we call it regulation. Okay, the essence of regulation is to ensure that the big one does not swallow the small one. Is to ensure that the big one can benefit from what the small one can benefit from what the big one is doing. That is the essence of regulation. So if MTN, if it is true that MTN is exploiting Nigeria, then it's a regulatory imbalance. So be that as it may, MTN today is the biggest or the largest, like they will always say, the foreign investor in that ecosystem. Okay, what that means is that some of these governors are even parading, remove MTN, call MTN, all those kind of things. They do not know that MTN may be carrying the traffic of their communication between them and their commissioners, between them and even the presidency. They do not. These are things that they should not take with kid gloves. They should take them very, very seriously. Exploiting Nigeria means that you buy a recharge card of 5 naira and then you make like 4 naira 50, the remaining 50 kobo disappears. These are minor things. Because if the only thing that government can do is to, just like they have done, a fine. If the fine is done, is the money coming back to the subscriber? The answer is no. The money goes to the TSA. And that money never come back to the subscriber. So what government should seek to do is to see how they can go after the leadership of each organization, just like they do in banks. If any bank misbehaves, the CEO pays for it. So when they know such thing will come their way, they will stop all of those minor malpractices. Okay, if we agree that MTN really is stripping Nigeria, or who told you that they are not going to pay this 30 billion from the subscribers? If the regulatory infrastructure is not properly in place, I think it is regulatory imbalance to say that MTN is ripping Nigerians off, if that is true.
Regulation is very, very important. It is key. I'm going back to Olayemi now. I've been throwing the questions to Olayemi with regards to the stock market because I know it's going to give us insight into that sector. That's why I'm staying there. Now, MTN staying on the dual listing window. Already it's on the Johannesburg Exchange, according to research and information that we have. Now, would there be differentials in the stock values, and prices across markets with that development?
Well, I assume the MTN that is coming to the market in Nigeria is the MTN that is registered in Nigeria.
Okay.
And if the MTN that is registered in Nigeria, it has to have its own separate paid-out share capital. If it has its own paid-out share capital, it will have its own balance sheet. So the valuation of the shares of MTN in Nigeria will certainly be different from whatever is happening in South Africa. Oh yeah, it will be.
Okay, so it's not going to affect each other in any way.
It shouldn't ordinarily. It shouldn't.
But there's
no parallel securitization. The transaction in Nigeria, like for example, the fine you are talking about.
Okay.
The sanction, and it doesn't affect the as I say, MTN in Johannesburg. No, it shouldn't. It should be transaction based on Nigeria that they are taxing.
That is after going on the stock exchange in Nigeria, because this affected, it does affected the Johannesburg exchange.
Ordinarily, it shouldn't.
It did, because that was why they have to remove
It's an offense committed in Nigeria by a Nigerian company. The sanction is against the company.
That reduced. MTN was #1 in Africa.
Yes.
This fine reduced, remove MTN from that whatever. Then Vodacom took over. And then that is one, and then the CEO, they have to separation of power. The CEO of South Africa has to be removed.
Yes, he was removed.
He was removed. So he was affected.
That's true. He was removed.
He has to be affected. But there's one thing that bothers me about telcos going to the stock exchange in Nigeria. We saw Charms, we saw Omatek, we saw Computer Warehouse, Starcoms, and now is MTN. How many of them have survived?
Well, it all depends on the management. If MTN come with all seriousness,
all the telco companies that have got to this stock exchange are just struggling to.
What do you think will be responsible for this? That is very important.
Yeah, this thing are not surviving the market situation. It's not a function of the inability of the Nigerian Stock Exchange to manage them. No.
Okay.
It's their own in-house management problem. And they have to look into it. As I've said, they can't come to the stock exchange and try to
maneuver or make
there can be no maneuvering. You have to come there naked. Come there naked.
Because hopped on that word, coming there naked. No.
If I may just mention, maybe Mr. Agabi will be able to answer this. When we are talking of even putting a sanction and then reviewing the sanction by almost 80% at the end of the day, I was looking at it. I said, what is it supposed to mean? Because, for example, if a company is listed on the stock exchange and Secretary and Exchange should put a sanction, the question of even getting the Senate involved in the negotiation doesn't arise.
Exactly.
What is the business of the House of Rep and Senate negotiating this? I think it's an issue.
Yes.
Many of us are questioning that issue up to now.
Yes.
Why they should even be going again on Monday for another, I think it's not relevant.
It's
not
not
that
relevant.
some envelope has passed over under the table. It's not proper. And then secondly, the question of even saying that because their database is so wide that we cannot do without MTN, we can do without them. No, some other company will spring up that will be more responsive.
No, it's not a question of it's not a question of dealing without them.
Yes.
If you are good, you can do without MTN, right? But if you're going to do with a legacy establishment like that, that has so much of you, if you say go away, they go with what you have of you. So and then again, you send another wrong message to other investors that are likely to come. It's not just MTN alone.
So necessity is the mother of invention. When they're not there,
so you really need foreign investors. Right now, you need foreign investors.
We're almost running out of time. I want to ask Mr. Agabi this question before we run out of time. Now, talking about this MTN going, MTN's importance, relevance, and all that, many have also complained about poor services. I know you've talked about regulation and all that, but how do you think we can hold them accountable, as in we, the subscribers and all that? Is there any way we can, or I don't ask just the regulators, or is it the Consumer Protection Council, or what do we do? It happens to me too at times, personally.
The truth is that, if we want to be plain, the truth is that is the same reason why porting has not worked. Because if you port from MTN to Etisalat, or Etisalat to Airtel, the other one to Glo, it's the same infrastructure. It's just the marketing brand name that they change. It's the same base stations, it's the same transmission stations, it's the same everything. Powered by what? Power. Light. If you have a base station here and the light goes off, it takes some minutes before it comes up. And within that minute, if you try to make a call, it will not register on the base station or the network. So those are some of the reasons we allude to when we say network failure, network is not connecting, and all of those things and all that. So Nigerians have found out that if you port from MTN to Airtel, you are likely to experience the same thing, because they are powered by the same organizations. Some of them are even given switches by let me not mention the company's name. One company provides for all of them the back end. Okay, so it's a infrastructural deficiency. It's a infrastructural deficiency. They were given a timeline on how they should invest in infrastructure, and I do not think they are meeting up with it. Okay, they cannot say the demand is higher than what they are actually putting out, because from me here, I think NCC should be up at doing.
Yes,
I think NCC should be up at doing. I think NCC should be up at doing, and then the Consumer Protection Council must know its role.
Yeah.
Because in most of the cases when we talk about quality of service, the Consumer Protection Council does not come to play. Even this issue of fine, the Consumer Protection Council should come in and say, no, this money should go back to the consumer, because it was from the consumer you took the money. That is just the truth. The money shouldn't go to government. The money, like I just came back from US yesterday. If you're cheated, you are credited, you are recredited. You know, you are accredited immediately.
Down to regulation again.
It boils down to regulation. So I think the regulatory framework should be in pieces in such a way that everyone can understand it, and then open a window for the Consumer Protection Council to come in on behalf of the consumer, because we are all consumers of this service.
Interesting. I know you want to say something with regards to that as we round up.
Yes, it's just to mention that it's like we're having the same problem all over the whole place.
Yes.
You've been hearing of unclaimed dividend warrants.
Yes.
It has accumulated into some billions of naira, which the Security and Exchange Commission is sitting on. We are saying that that money should go back to the shareholders, because it belongs to them.
Yeah.
And if you cannot even give it to the shareholder, give it to the company.
I thought there was this online that was launched.
Is to reduce the probability of people not getting their dividends.
Yeah.
Okay.
But how about the accrued dividend that are standing?
Yeah.
It's lots of money. Lots of money is there, locked up. Locked up. And the shareholders are still arguing, but nobody is fighting for them. It's unfortunate. It's just the same thing he's talking about.
I would just have to, let's just leave it there. I must appreciate you, sir, Samuel Olayemi, a stockbroker and also the Public Secretary of Nigeria Internet Group, for your time on Business Nigeria to actually dissect this issue and make Nigerians get the best and even understand it better. Thank you very much for joining us on Business Nigeria.
Thank you.